You need to stop people pleasing because it will ruin your life. Why? Because all it has done for me is make me do things which I thought was wrong, but I did them anyway because I was afraid of conflict and I was afraid of how people would judge me if I spoke the truth and I actually acted out what I believed to be right. A good example of this when we people please is, for example, a Christmas holiday or any holiday where there's a big cake for dessert. You take a piece of cake because you want everyone to be happy and you eat it with a smile on your face. But you don't actually want that cake. But we take it anyway because we want to avoid that conflict because we're thinking that if we're gonna say no, people will look at us and think that just take some damn cake. But we don't want to take cake. And that's a problem. So we're gonna eat the cake even though we don't want to. So also because we're afraid of being judged of how will these people perceive me if I speak the truth and do what I believe is right. So instead we do what we think are wrong and we eat the cake and everyone is happy except for you because you ate the cake when you thought it was wrong. So this people pleasing all really stems from fear. We're afraid of taking conflicts and we're afraid of how people would judge us if we speak the truth and we act out what we believe is right. And if we continue living with these two fears, we're going to live a false life because we don't do what we believe is right and we never tackle any problems. We just stay in the same place, making sure that everyone is happy except for you because you never do what you believe is right. All you do is make sure that everyone around you is happy and there's no conflict or they don't have to judge you because you never speak the truth. So you're in this safe bubble. But that's not what we want. We don't want to live a life like that. So what we need to do is to speak up the truth. We need to speak up what we believe is right. Only then are we gonna be able to live the life that we were meant to live. And that's why the story hasn't ended, because yesterday there was Easter. And we had some cake because it's Easter. But I said no. I said that I didn't want any cake because I knew that if I took that cake, I would just eat it and be happy, but on the inside, I would just live with regret because I've done something which I knew was wrong. Because why is it wrong? It doesn't necessarily have to be wrong but simply because I didn't want to do it, that makes it wrong. Because if you do things that you believe are wrong because you don't want to do them and you do them anyway, you're gonna live with regret because you have done something which is wrong. Period. You have done something wrong if you believe something is wrong and you do it anyway. And when I didn't eat that cake, what happened was my family looked at me like, can't you just take some cake? And I said, no, I just don't want any. And they accepted it. So really this fear of that people will judge you. Sure, they will judge you, but it's not gonna be such a big conflict that you think. They will just ask you one more time, are you really sure? And you say no. Of course, this is just a small example of when we people please. There's much bigger things, but really we overestimate how much people will criticize us for doing what we believe is right. There will just be a small conflict that's really not even worth avoiding. It's much easier to speak the truth and do what you think is right, because I was still with the dinner and everyone ate their cake, but I just sat with them and talked like normal. And I was much happier and everyone else was, because I was happy and I brought this energy that I did what I actually thought was right. I didn't sit there and eat my cake and thought that, oh, why am I eating this cake? I actually did what I thought was right. And if you do the same, you're gonna feel a lot more happy and people will respect you because you have values that you live up to. You don't let others tremble down your values just so they can be pleased. You have values that you stand for and you respect those. And that's really important for yourself and for how others will perceive you. So the way that we fix people pleasing is that we speak our minds like I did yesterday. You speak the truth, you do what you think is right. Then you're not gonna have all of these problems that occur only because we avoid conflict. Because if we keep avoiding conflict and we never tackle any problems and we're afraid of how people will judge us, there's just gonna be nowhere for us to go because we stay in the same place where we never confront any problems and we never actually become more of ourselves and do what we believe is right because we're always gonna be afraid of how people judge us. So it's very important that we speak our minds and we act out what we believe is right. And it just comes down to starting with small actions, like I did yesterday, just saying that I didn't want any cake. And then you will get a positive feedback loop that you can do this and you're gonna be able to do bigger and bigger things, and eventually you're just gonna be always speaking the truth, doing what you believe is right. And it's gonna be so much easier for you because you don't have to worry about, okay, how am I going to please this person? You just do what you believe is right. And usually, sometimes there's some conflict, but usually most of the time people are happy and everyone is just grateful that you're doing what you think is right, especially yourself, because you're gonna be so glad that, and you're gonna go to sleep every night knowing that you did what you wanted to do. So most problems in life actually stems from doing things that we believe are wrong. So it's very important that we can just act out our minds and speak the truth and do what we think is right, because otherwise we're gonna go to bed living with regret that we did something wrong, or we're gonna be anxious because we don't really know what is right. But if we can simply trust ourselves and do what we believe is right, you're not gonna have all of these problems that are completely unnecessary and only occur because we avoid conflict and we don't trust ourselves and do what we believe is right. That's why we have all of those negative emotions. If we simply do instead of what we believe is right, we're gonna live such more naturally and things will just come naturally because we live the way we're supposed to do. We live the way that you're supposed and meant to do from the very beginning. So it's that simple. Start small, start doing the things that you believe are right, start acting out the truth, and you're gonna live such a way more fulfilled life. And you're not gonna please people just because you're afraid of conflict and whatever, and making yourself feel bad. Instead, you're gonna be doing what you believe is right, and people will respect you, and you're gonna be respecting yourself. So stop people pleasing and start doing what you believe is right. Thanks for listening to this video, and I will see you in the next one.